I honestly didn't expect to see the Rawatai here in Ukaizo. I know they want it for themselves, but I never expected that they consider it theirs by some right. Hazanui Karu really was power-hungry, or was it by orders from above to declare Ukaizo as belonging to the Rawatai? Seeing their ship limp into the port in Ukaizo means that they would have had to brave the storm to get there, which also is a testament to their zealousness. If we didn't shut down the storm-creating machine, then they would have been lost at sea. They came to a sad ending regardless. I only really regret that Mayorua was among them. If there was a way to have made the Huana and the Rawatai happy and content with my choice, then I would have gladly taken it. But it seems that this was always a race between nations for the winner and loser. That is another thing that we Kith will eventually have to come to learn. Cooperation. So this is it, the end of the wheel, and Eothas has imparted upon me the knowledge of what we can expect, and what we as Kith have been gifted with to create our own future. I am very worried about losing reincarnation after a generation, and every child afterwards being Hullaborn. But if this is what it takes to spur us on to do something on our own, then so be it. We as the inhabitants of Eora will just have to create a means of getting souls back into reincarnation without the ancient Eothas being a part of it. It's quite the daunting task, but Eothas seems convinced that our animancy is advanced to do it on our own. That is another thing that I wish I had known all these years. At first I believed that animancy was, well, an endeavor by power-hungry scientists who wished to control our souls. After seeing the Hullaborn crisis for what it was in the Durwood, I saw a bit of a glimmer of hope in it, but was dubious in its results. Ultimately, after chasing down Theos and setting the wheel in the Durwood right, I never really gave animancy much thought after that. But now I see it as what it is. It's the science that the Eothas used to create the wheel and the gods. Eothas seems to think that we can, or have even surpassed the Eothas in their day. I guess I will just have to trust his knowledge, and from now on I will really promote the science of animancy as the future for us Kith. Presently, Eothas is about to destroy the wheel, and we have a great vantage point to watch it all.
Eothas squares himself to the machine. As you move to a safe distance, he draws his fist back and resumes his assault. The blows rain down with increased fervor, but the machine perseveres in spite of his efforts. Spreading his arms wide, Eothas draws power from the luminous Audra clustered around the valley. The energy courses through his body, limbs overflowing with intense light and waves of heat. He returns to his task, each strike bringing with it the sound of cracking stone and twisting metal, the flickering of luminous Audra across Ukaizo. As the ancient machine finally begins to succumb to his strength, so too does Eothas's body, built to withstand the passage of thousands of years. The great Audra statue has finally been pushed beyond its limits.
I was wondering if that would ever happen.
Cracks appear along the hands, then race up the arms. Eothas does not slow his assault, but continues unabated. Its brass rings twisted, the machine spins erratically but withstands the relentless barrage. Eothas stands astride it and pummels the base of the machine. Soul energy begins to flare out from the machine's heart, warping the air with the intense heat. Eothas drives his right fist into the machine's center, the core of metal and Audra. The god lets out a deafening shout, something between a cry of anguish and a roar of exultation. You see Eothas's arm shatter upward from his hand through his elbow. A flash of light and heat bursts from the core, accompanied by a cacophony of destruction. The moment passes, as Eothas's shout echoes throughout the valley. Your eyes begin to recover. The god's work is accomplished. The great machine of Ukaizo has been destroyed. The wheel has been unmade. As Eothas' voice fades, the enormity of what you've accomplished sinks in. You have confronted a god. You have rediscovered the ancient city where the wheel was forged, and you have seen the wheel shattered. What comes next is uncertain, but already the legend spreads of the Watcher, who survived Andra's mortar and stood toe-to-toe with Eothas. On your recommendation, Eothas disperses his essence, and that of the thousands of souls within him, to centers of knowledge and learning around the world. Animancers, engineers, wizards, and scholars of all stripes make astounding breakthroughs in understanding and harnessing the phenomena that govern Eora. While some of these developments prove beneficial to Kith, others are decidedly less so. But such is the price of innovation. What remains to be seen is how, indeed whether, they will restore the cycle Eothas has broken. Reclaiming Ukaizo is both a symbolic and a practical victory for the Huana. The ancient city is a potent reminder of their people's ancient glory, and it promises to be a much more easily defensible capital, especially with the storm controls of Andra's Spire close at hand. The other tribes unite under the Kahanga and dedicate themselves to rebuilding Ukaizo and relearning its secrets. The Valian Trading Company continues its operations in Deadfire, though it is forced to renegotiate many of its contracts with the newly empowered Huana Crown. Company leadership finds that the new terms are much more favorable to the tribes than to their own interests in the region. Due to these changes, the Valian Trading Company eventually withdraws most of its people from Deadfire. The Royal Deadfire Company is expelled from the archipelago as punishment for their attack at Andra's mortar. The storms across the Rawatayan mainland subside along with those of Andra's mortar. However, Rawatai regards this respite with a wary eye, ever mindful that the machinery at Andra's Spire remains under their foes' control. With the Huana settling in at Ukaizo and both Valian and Rawatayan trade reduced, Deadfire becomes a much less tempting target for Aldi's Principe. The end of the storms at Audra's mortar, however, offers tantalizing possibilities, new lands, and fatter prizes. Aldi's leads the New Bloods across the sea in search of fresh adventures. The mysterious deaths of Governor Clario and Storm Speaker Ikawa provoke hostilities between the Valian settlers and the Huawan residents. What starts with angry words escalates to retaliatory killings as each side blames the other.
That's awful.
By the time anyone bothers to question the strange coincidences surrounding their deaths, including reports of a cloaked Omawi woman seen in both the port and the village, both sides have gone too far to turn back. The conflict eventually draws the attention of Queen Onikaza, who sends a contingent of warriors to drive the remaining Valians from the island. Port Mage becomes a cautionary tale for outsiders who would abuse the hospitality of the Huana tribes. As the balance of power changes in Deadfire, so too does Nekataka transform. Though the Kahanga monarchy moves its new seat of government to Ukaizo, Nekataka continues to be a busy and important city. The pirates continue smuggling food into the gullet, and the Raparu embrace their benefactors, aiding and concealing their smuggling operations. Over time, the gullet becomes a hotbed of piracy.
That wasn't my goal, I just wanted to feed them.
Ukaizo reveals more about the ancient art of water shaping than the guild could have hoped to learn in another century of work. With this new knowledge, water shapers across the archipelago wield the currents and bend the waves for the pleasure and benefit of the new Huana nation. Your brief encounter with Letharn proves deeply influential for the children of the Dawnstars. Plagued with nightmares and haunted by the deaths at Hesango, Letharn begins questioning his faith in Eothas. At first, his fellow Dawnstars chide him. But that changes as word of Eothas' deeds at Ukaizo spreads. After all, what business have they worshipping a god who denied his own legitimacy? The faith of the Children of the Dawnstars fades, but their commitment to the people of Deadfire does not. They continue feeding, healing, and helping the neediest, just as they have for decades. It is no longer a holy mission, but it is a mission all the same. Ruanu, the chieftain of the Huana at Tikawara, dies mysteriously. The tribe finds his body washed up on the same beach where Anaharu challenged him to the trial of waves. Some blame Anaharu's vengeful spirit. Others see it as Ngati's final judgment. And a few speak of a strange man seen lingering in the village. The leaderless tribe eventually scatters. Some head to Nekataka, while others seek out the Wahaki. The dragon, Neraskirlas, no longer passes between Eora and the White Void, and the dead flow slowly breaks apart, exposing the temple long frozen within. Under Halfjorn's guidance, the Harbingers of Dusk resettle within Remergon's temple, vowing to forever protect it from the defiling touch of outsiders. Over time, the group becomes increasingly reclusive and fanatical, attacking any who dare approach their holy site. In besting the Beast of Winter, you earned the Death God's mercy rather than his enmity. The deity remains characteristically unforthcoming about his decision, and you're left to wonder whether in doing battle with him in the White Void, you somehow furthered his apocalyptic ambitions. Word spreads of the primal island of Kazuwari, once home to an arena that hosted bloody competitions and fearsome ordeals. Wild tales whisper that the spilled blood attracted a terrible beast of scale and fang that slaughtered those gathered at the island before destroying the great enchanted statue that oversaw the island's trials. Absent its guiding voice, Kazuwari descends into anarchy.
They'll have to figure out how to rule themselves. That statue shouldn't be telling them how to live.
A vast monstrosity of tentacles and flesh erupts from the Black Isles in the eastern Deadfire, before vanishing into the depths. None know what drives the titanic beast, nor where it will appear next, or what destruction it might wreak when it rises. Though your adventures alter the destiny of Eora and the balance of power in Deadfire, they also leave a lasting mark on those who travel at your side. Your companions find themselves changed, in ways both big and small. Adair returns to Hisongo, where he reunites with Byrne, the son of his former lover, Ilava. The boy takes heart in Adair's account that Eothas and all the other gods were false, petty, and unworthy of the love of Kith. Realizing how close he came to dying for this cause, Byrne finds renewed purpose in working alongside his uncle to repair the many scars left upon Deadfire by the gods. Under Adair's guidance, Byrne grows into the kind of irreverent, stubborn hothead that would have made his mother proud, and Adair visits her gravesite, often to tell her so. Shodi is not a priestess who understands the meaning of subtlety. As such, she makes her girlish crush on Adair painfully obvious from the moment she first sets eyes on the strapping fighter. Early in your travels, Adair appears discomforted by her persistent flirting. He often grimaces when she sidles up to him, and he takes endless pains to keep their conversations terse and to the point. But after a little smoothing on your part to nudge them in the right direction, Adair makes an effort to view Shodi with an open mind. And Shodi begins teasing the veteran fighter in a more companionable and less amorous manner. After saving each other's hides a couple times and sharing more than a few laughs, the two form an easy, and you suspect, lifelong friendship. Seemingly lit with an inner glow, Shodi takes to a new life of mission work with gusto. She still is committed to shepherding souls forgone, but having realigned her goals with that of her fellow Dawn Stars, she now endeavors to help the living as much as the dead. As you travel the Deadfire, you find her sleeping better and laughing more often. When the time comes for her to return to her temple in Neketaka, it's with a clear wistfulness and much lip-biting on her part. She leaves you with her sickle and a hastily scrawled note. It reads, "A keepsake from a path once walked. Remember me, Watcher, for I will forever dream of you." Though the two of you no longer travel together, Shodi holds fast to the memory of you in her heart, remaining your fierce and doting girlfriend, faithful even in her absence. You receive a missive for every day apart, though they often arrive in a single bundle some weeks or months past. In them, she writes of how she misses you, how you are like a fire that burns inside her, how one day surely you will be reunited again. Until then, she prays for your safety as she continues to labor in service to Gon. Aloth renews his commitment to destroying the Leaden Key. With the wheel broken, loosening the god's stranglehold on Kith is more urgent than ever. It is a lofty goal, and one he does not expect to finish in his lifetime. But if there's one thing he's learned from the Watcher, it's that a single person can change the world. You let Rimaro go, and the former pirate ostensibly set sail for the trade lanes of the Eastern Reach, the Edier Empire, Old Valia, and the Republics. For the remainder of your time together, Seraphon seems, if not exactly happy, at least contented with the outcome of your confrontation with his former mentor at Sayuka. And yet, when the two of you part, Seraphon seems emboldened, invigorated by a new sense of purpose. He buys you a drink, toasts to the Deadfire, says, "Let's see if we can make something worth a shit out of what's left of these Principe swabs," and sets sail the next morning. In the years to follow, rumors occasionally reach you of the Blue Orlan pirate of the Deadfire, a privateer captain as keen to free slaves or fight foreign influence as he is to plunder and pillage. After reporting back to her superiors for the Watcher's actions against the Valian Trading Company, Pallegina is rewarded with reassignment home to the Valian Republics. She spends the next several years as the head of the household guard for the Duke of Ancenze. In this role, she is often lauded for her courage and loyalty. Even with all of the praise, there are still times when she cannot help but feel she could have had more influence on what transpired in the Deadfire. Pallegina renews her relationship with Giacomo, corresponding with him regularly, and even meeting with the old Animenser once or twice a year. Though she does not understand the intricate details of his research, she reads his letters and responds with great enthusiasm. Her brothers, and even the dukes themselves, note that Pallegina's demeanor is always warmer on the days when she receives a letter. Rumors even spread that some of the brothers have seen her smile. Takehu never intended to grasp at the destiny his coming foretold, but he finds himself doing just that. He sails from island to island as an emissary from the gods to the Huana people. The tribes welcome his message and use it to bridge their traditions across the archipelago. Huana unity has never been stronger. With Ngati's covenant firmly in mind, Takehu feels confident enough to reshape the very Deadfire. Your farewell is short and cordial. Nothing further needs to be said, and you wish each other well. Takehu does not look back. The sea feels restless in his absence. Your pursuit of Eothas and your journey to Ukaizo signal the end of forces that have shaped the lives of Kith and the course of nations. The cycle of reincarnation has been broken. The storms of Andra's mortar have calmed. Yet each ending promises a new beginning. As the sun rises over Ukaizo, Kith turn their gaze eastward, wondering at what lies beyond, and at the world they will fashion for themselves. As the Watcher of Caed Nua and the former Herald of Bareth, you return to your ship and begin the long journey home. You hope for calm weather.
Adair Terlik has been one of the best friends I've had in my life. Though I've only known him for around 6 years, I'll really miss him as he's gone off to live with his new adoptive son in Hisongo. I've never known a more relaxed, pragmatic Kith who is the most reliable and dependable fighter I've ever seen. Without him, I don't know if I could have done what we did in the Deadfire. He was also the first friend I made after moving to the Durwood back during the Hullaborn crisis. While I ruled Caed Nua after Theos, he came and stayed for a while at first, before going off on his own for a few years. I only wish that he'll be happy living as a farmer on Hisongo. He always was the sort of guy I knew would end up as a farmer. Elath Corficer was a very conflicted elf, with that soul Isilmir who sometimes came out to give us whatever was on his mind. It really didn't help that he came from a very bad household, and he certainly wasn't the most confident Kith that I've ever met. Though he was one of the most talented mages I have known. No, he is the most talented. Oftentimes his spells will get us out of a bad situation. I'll never forget what he did when we fought Captain Ferrante, with his meteor spell. Now he's off hunting down the last of the Leaden Key. I'm sure Woodica would approve. I know I do. Shoti. Just Shoti. No other name to the woman that I love. Her letters to me that she writes every day have shown without a doubt that she loves me deeply. I don't actually plan on this separation of ours to be permanent, but things in this world won't wait, and I have to leave for the Durwood to speak to their leaders about the wheel, see if I cannot get Caed Nua back as mine, and use my copper to start reconstruction again if it is. She felt that being in the Deadfire right now was the best place for her, and I did stay with her for a few months, but ultimately I had to leave. A few months at the side of my love, without the end of the world being imminent, was exactly what I wanted since it all started in Caed Nua. I've been collecting her letters and have sent quite a few of my own to her. I cannot do this forever though. I have to be with her, so I plan on returning to the Deadfire if need be to bring her to Caed Nua if it all works out. If she agrees, of course, or once I finish my diplomatic efforts on the mainland and I do not get Caed Nua, I will return to her in the Deadfire. I love like what we have, well, it's just not something you let go of. When next we meet, however it happens, I will ask her to marry me. Pelagina Miss Ray was sent back to her homeland with honor this time, and I hope that she finds the life she is looking for there. I'll never forget how she helped us defeat Theos in the Durwood, and for sure she deserved better than what she got from her country afterwards. I don't know if we will ever cross paths again, but if it does happen, it will probably take place when I speak to the Vailian leaders about the wheel situation. I hope she doesn't hold this grudge against me for the rest of her life. Maya Rua. Well, what can I say about her? I never wanted to face her in combat like what happened in Ukaizo. She was one of the most talented soldiers I've met, and also the most loyal to her country. She's the kind of person every commander wants on their side, and she was a model as the best soldier that one could be. I'm sorry it ended this way, Maya. I only wish things could have turned out differently for you. Seraphin's a genuine pirate without any doubt there. He's now off with Captain Aldous, sailing the waters of the Deadfire. Hopefully he will get his own ship and show the world what he's worth. I just hope he doesn't get into too much trouble while he's at it. At the least, he has a code of honor, as many of the Principi do, especially against slavery, so I do have a certain level of respect for the Orlan. I'm sure he learned a lot while being with me out there in the Deadfire, as he's also taught me quite a bit about the Principi and how they work, in which I was able to use to my advantage many times. Tikehu is a very talented water shaper, but don't tell him that I said that. He tends to let these things go to his head quickly. I'm glad he was with us in the end at Nukazo. I did find him annoying at times, yes, but he's a good kith, and I don't really have anything against him. I hope he does his people proud, because the Huana will really need him over the next few years with all the changes. I'm sure he's up to the task, as his people really do look to him for great things. Things I know he's capable of doing. As for the factions, well, when it comes to the Huana, I'm very glad that they are taking up the mantle of leadership and sovereignty that I always wished they would. The Rauatai are gone, and the Valians are really being put in their place. The Principi aren't finding the Deadfire as lucrative as they used to, so I assume that they will move on at some point. Word is that they are currently scouring Andra's Mortar, looking for places to loot, until the Huana catch them, that is. I couldn't be happier with the direction that Queen Anakaza II has taken. Ukaizo is now being recolonized by its own descendants, though I don't expect much to come of that for quite a few years, perhaps not even in my lifetime. But it's been declared as the new capital of the Deadfire, so perhaps that will really speed its growth. As for me, well, as I said, I plan to visit many nations on the mainland and tell them of the situation, and of what we'll need to do. I've already gotten nearly all of the Valian Animancers in the Deadfire to either come with me on the Watcher, or to write letters of their own to their leaders back home. We must address this new wheel thing that we have to start working on. Caed Nua is my second goal of returning back home. I don't quite remember what it looked like when I died that first time, but with that massive Adra statue coming out of the ground like it did, I am sure it left a lot of damage to my old home. Back to Shodi. She's odd, and at times a little naive, but I think she's growing out of that. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think of her. Heck, an hour doesn't. Yeah, I love her a lot. I just hope I can hold out while I'm away. The work I'm doing is really important, and I cannot give in to my longing for her and return to the Deadfire too early. Yep, definitely marriage when I see her again. I'll buy her a ridiculously expensive ring with all my coin. She'll be the queen of Caed Nua if it all works out. I am sure my father would have approved of her, especially with her fondness for the gods, and Eothas. He's another person that I miss in my life. I am sure by now he's reincarnated, but who knows where on this world that would be. Farewells. They are always so difficult, especially when you love them.